Losers Bracket Podcast, episode 104. And we are here with a great guest this week. We're going to have Brent Ruiz from ESFI World joining us tonight. Here with the normal co-hosts, as always. Got LordJerith, got Key Hunt, Kurt from XIII. Also have our intern, VV Rapture. I, unfortunately, do not have my webcam this week. As you can see, I am a bit blank, which is kind of sad. But I got actually a really cool picture I'm going to be using this week, thanks to a very awesome fan for supplying some VV fan work, sending some artwork our way. So I have this little nifty thing that we've got going on here. But hey, let's see how everyone else is doing. Kurt, how are you doing, sir? Let's start out by going around, seeing how everyone's doing this week, and then we'll get into quick news, bring in our guest. It's going to be a good show. So Kurt, take it away.
Yeah, it should be a good show. I think it's been a busy week. Lots of stuff going on. IEM, for instance, is going on right now, or right this next few days. Pretty exciting stuff for that. A lot of great players. Of course, we covered the Winter Arena and all that stuff last week. We might mention, some of that, some of the sort of more stuff we know about that tonight. And I think it's gonna be a pretty good show, buddy. How about you, Dakota? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, just getting by, chilling, just seeing what's up. Nothing really pops into my head, really. I'm just, going with the flow, actually. So, weeks early. I pretty much did all my homework for my classes, so I got, nothing to do this week. So hopefully something comes out that I can talk about.
You're chin-chillin'. I know you.
I am. Chin-chillin'. I didn't even say it that time.
I got you.
I
I'm
just
learning.
got the image of you being an empty vessel.
That's what I feel like. I'm just literally chilling here, and I have nothing to look forward to this week. I mean, spring break's next week, but I'm not really doing anything. I literally have nothing to look forward to the next 2 weeks, except doing the show. I think that's it.
So this is what makes you happy.
This is what makes me happy.
Well, that's good to know. Well, why don't we get right to it? We have a lot to cover. We have a great guest. And I don't know. I'll find somebody upset tonight. I promise you, as always. I don't know who's going to give me hate, but we won't quit until someone does. Jason, go ahead. Let's get started.
Oh gosh, yes, let's. So let's go ahead and say that we know the 5 games that are going to be played at MLG now. Of course, we knew about StarCraft. We knew about Mortal Kombat. Halo snuck in there. I think you referred to Halo as the fat girl that no one wanted to take to prom, but took what they could. But we did find out that there are going to be 2 more fighting games that will be played at Columbus on the PS3 for the Winter Championship. They are going to both have $16,000, $16,700, I believe, actually, in prizes going for each of them. They're going to be Soul Calibur 5 and King of Fighters 13. You had mentioned Soul Calibur 5 recently on a recent episode. And now we'd heard that King of Fighters is going to be there as well. I think this is 2 really interesting topics, honestly. One, the outpouring of fighting game support that MLG is showing, and 2, the fighting game community response to this. I'd love to hear some thoughts. Kurt, let's throw the mic over to you first.
I think it's good to see fighting games there, number one. I was always a fan, and once again, people don't have to realize this until they actually watch the show. I was always a fan of the way MLG did Tekken. I think they did Tekken right, despite the community behind Tekken and how unfortunately lacking it is for support. But I think they did it right. They did bring in Rich Bandicoot, who is now the Namco community manager, and he was absolutely perfect MC for that. They brought in Rip, who is absolutely amazing commentator, and the other commentator who I fucking forgot, but he was great too. They did everything right. They had a great competition. So considering what they have to work with, I think we will have some absolutely amazing competition. I think support from the developers will be there from those particular games. However, of course, the bad part about it is, unfortunately, as Slasher says, it is not Street Fighter. It is not Marvel vs. Capcom or anything like that. It's not going to have, the community's not going to be incredibly excited about it. That being said, though, I'm really glad that some of the players, like Perfect Legend, who play Mortal Kombat, and I think he plays Soul Calibur 5 as well. I think he'll be there and be supporting the games. I think a bunch of other people will be there too. So I'm excited.
If I remember correctly, he also won Evo Mortal Kombat, right? He was the person who beat Rio.
Yeah, I think so. He's a great player, man. He's been around forever. He was actually on the CGS for a while too, the Championship Gaming Series. He played Dead or Alive under that, so he's been around for a while.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of interesting developments with this. Heck, there was actually even a tweet from Adam Clapp from MLG hinting at the fact that Team Spooky would be producing the MLG fighting streams as well.
That's the biggest news. Like to me,
mhm.
you could have fucking Spooky doing Counter-Strike, and you would still have a big number of Spooky fans. You would still have the Spooky dedicated followers, which is fantastic if that's true. I don't think it's necessarily been quote unquote confirmed yet, but even the fact that they're talking about it shows that they are damn sure trying, and I don't think Spooky would turn it down by any means. So that's really big news. That shows
Indeed.
that I think they can make up for what they're missing in Street Fighter just by having Spooky produce a stream and Spooky a big part of it.
Indeed. Rapture, you're a part of the fighting game community. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's amazing that King of Fighters got on there because I honestly thought they would only add Soul Calibur. King of Fighters is an absolutely amazing game, and I really hope everyone turns out for it. I think the reaction from the fighting game community obviously could have been a little bit bigger, but the problem is that the mainstream fighting game community is majorly like Capcom players. Like they're more Marvel or Street Fighter players. They're not like the King of Fighter, Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat, even Dead or Alive, Tekken. That's like a subcategory of the fighting game community, and they themselves don't even like Capcom players. So it's a different kind of thing. It's weird. I'm really excited about it, and a lot of it too is that the fighting game community now has an outlet for MLG, and they're definitely going to get a first-hand experience of what it really is. I think Tekken was sort of like a precursor to that, but not necessarily all there. So I don't know. I think it's a really awesome thing. I can't wait to go and hopefully play as a King of Fighter because that's one of my favorite games. It's a really cool thing. So definitely, I'm excited. I'm excited.
As well you should be. I think it's going to be pretty hype. Jerry, you called Soul Calibur. Thoughts on King of Fighters? Thoughts on this support from MLG for the fighting game community after so much shit was thrown at them?
I mean, I don't know. I really have become almost cynical. Actually, I think Sir Scoot said, that, Jerry, you can't dismiss the community. Actually, I can. I can, actually. I think it's fantastic for those games to get picked up. But, I do find it interesting that, we, make allowances for it not being Street Fighter when a rising tide lifts all boats. Like, it's really, really good for fighting game community to be at MLG. And the only people who it's not good for are like some of the leadership that kind of pew it because they're worried about their event in some ways not getting the turnout because of MLG. So, to me, I think you're being kind and saying the fighting game community response is a bit muted. I think it kind of sucked. And a matter of fact, I remember the fighting game community making a big deal about how they support all fighting games. And to be honest, as soon as Soul Calibur and Mortal Kombat and King of Fighters got picked up, I thought it was almost they were like the black sheep of the fighting game community. I saw it on the stream this weekend and some of the comments made, almost downplaying MLG picking it up. There's all this opportunity for quote unquote hype, but they don't do it. And I mean, to be honest, I hope that Major League Gaming is able to continue to grow it. But I certainly think, the response is, again, I know we're dealing with young people. Again, you have entrenched interests who are trying to guide that conversation to kind of downplay MLG's impact. And what you have at the end of the day is you just have this muted response about something that should be celebrated. So, I kind of shake my head, and I think to myself, you are not, you've had this war with esports, which pretty much everyone on the esports side has kind of chuckled at. You've made this big defense about how special your community is. And I'm not going to go into it again, but, esports podcasts don't have people walking off the show because of sexual harassment. The professionalism, right? The mainstream professionalism that we kind of come built in with is something very important. Jason Lake highlighted it really clearly on his show, I thought, on the executives. And certainly you wouldn't expect a member of the fighting game community to walk into MIT like Alexander Garfield and sit down at Sloan Business School and be involved in that kind of panel discussion. And if that's okay for the fighting game community, then okay, good for you. No one says you have to be playing with the big boys, no one. But I do at the end of the day find it very almost hypocritical that the very group that so says we're all inclusive and we support all these games, as soon as MLG picked it up, there was a muted response about King of Fighters, about Mortal Kombat, and about Soul Calibur 5. Even we're talking about it as, oh, those are smaller games, as if some way they don't really matter, when what we should be doing is promoting the hell out of them. Not us even, right? This isn't our dog to fight. The fighting game community should be like, hell yeah, right? Let's get behind this, right? Next could be this game. Next could be this game. This could grow. But instead, we kind of got a lot of that trench warfare and defending their own trench. So, I don't know. Maybe IPL will get more lucky with some things. We'll see. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's rather interesting that one of the big things that I'd seen pop up on Shoryuken when I was looking around at this subject was that the first thing that came up was it seemed like they were almost trying to find something to pick on, and some people were finally starting to come to their senses, it felt like, when they said, wow, this is, just one tournament, $16,700 per game. That's a lot of money, and then on the other half, the other side of the people, they're like, well, it's the same weekend as the NorCal regionals, and I thought MLG stated they weren't gonna schedule their events at the same time as other tournaments, and obviously they're still not in it for us. Da 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 da. I don't know. It seems like they're trying to nitpick, trying to find things that are wrong, trying to find reasons not to back it. Rapture, as a member of the fighting game community, would you agree with that?
Like I said, I would contribute that more towards the mainstream fighting game community, the Capcom fighters, the people behind Street Fighter and Marvel. I would agree. I mean, everyone looks for like a negative side to things. I mean, the tournament issue is a big deal. We really being a co-host to a tournament and being at tournaments, it sucks when you have a really big tournament the same weekend as yours. And we really take pride in having these things set up. Sometimes we work with other people, other times we don't, and just hope for the best, and that's what happens. And then we complain about it, and that's what's happening here. That's a thing that people would argue about, and I think the fighting game community, again, it's the mainstream fighting game community that's really sort of doing that. I'm sure the non-mainstream, the sort of the King of Fighters players, the Tekken players, they're like, great, this is awesome, because their scenes are smaller, they don't have as many tournaments, and the fact that they're getting, they were picked up by Evo was great. So they're at those big tournaments, but because they really don't have as many to begin with, or they're not as big, to get on MLG is just as amazing to get on Evo as far as the King of Fighters or Soul Calibur players are concerned. So, I think it's more the mainstream people that are actually complaining, but I would agree with that.
I think to that being said, I think, at the end of the day, I think it's a lot like Winter Arena. I think it's a lot of drama up front, and I think either way it's going to end up being good for MLG. I don't think it's going to be like a disaster where they're just going to, cancel after one game or whatever, or one event. I really don't see that, especially if they get Spooky behind it. If they're able to get Spooky behind it, that shows the community that they're 100% wanting to work with them. It's not a matter of, just a business decision kind of thing.
Well, I was going to throw out there, I think that's the beauty of business, right? I think people try to pew-pew business a lot, but the beauty of business is that despite
that is
the
a
treat,
decision,
right?
yeah.
Despite the bullshit, they're making a business decision, right? Despite all that crap and all that mudslinging and all the other, oh my God, MLG ruins esports and all that other yap, right? They're able to still make a good business decision, reach out to Spooky and say, hey, we think that, you're a great caster for the fighting game community. Come on board. Because it is a business decision. It's not personal, right? And I think that's the important part.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But the way we foresee things and the way other the regular community or the whole community as a whole sees things is sometimes different. I mean, I see it as a smart business decision. The community might not necessarily see it like that.
Well, I mean,
either way, they're going to support it. So.
I mean, part of it too is we got to see. Has Spooky officially said yes? I guess is the other question, right?
Yeah, and we don't know
if he does, that's fantastic. But what's going to happen is he not going to be able to then go to Evo because Evo's not going to fund him or something, right? You don't know what kind of negative politics is going to be played on the other side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so hopefully everything goes down all right. I think it will. I think the spooky things will go well. I hope. I certainly hope at least. I don't know if how that's going to work out for Columbus, considering I think it's. I don't know why they wouldn't have announced it already, but I don't know. I hope so. And another thing too, I think to look on the bright side of things, let's also really quickly mention IPL. And something that was also brought up this week is that, and people knew this a lot already, but they did announce once again that they're having Street Fighter Cross Tekken exhibition match at the South by Southwest event. That's this is an officially IPL sponsored event. And it's going to be it's in relation directly to IGN Pro League, and they're working with Capcom on it. That's getting somewhere where no one else has got so far. MLG hasn't got that far. So I think that's good for them. It's not going to be at IPL 4 as far as I know because they haven't announced anything like that yet at least. But I think it'll go well. I think as long as they continue with that, it should go really well.
I don't want to switch subjects, too quickly here, but I want to talk about something else that I think is going really well. And I think this entire event for Halo took a really good positive turn with the news coming up.
Jason, I was just thinking, why don't we bring Brent on? Because we were just talking about fighting games in the news. Mm-hmm. And it's not like he's a stranger to making comments and things. So why don't we get him on the line?
Yeah, why not? We'll talk about the rest of the news later. Why not? Let's bring him in.
He can be a part of it. We can talk with it during. We're not going to let him monopolize all our time talking about ESFI.
Oh, but it's going to be fun to have him on. Yeah, I agree, though. Brent, are you here, sir?
Yes, I'm here, guys.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. This is the first time you've been on the Losers Bracket, man. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on so last second. We just reached out to you, and I'm really happy we have the chance to get you on here. So for the viewers that might not know who you are, please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started out ESFI, and what you do with them, what the purpose behind the site is. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I guess I'll give you guys the condensed version because this is going to take a while if I don't. So I guess I started playing Quake 2 back in the late 90s, and that's
what a condensed version.
Yeah, don't worry about
1990s. There we go, Brent. You're my boy.
Old school, man. Old school. So yeah, Quake 2. That's where I got my start. Then Wolfenstein came out. I started playing that, and I was writing for a site called Cached.net. All the old school Quakers will know what I'm talking about. So I did that for a while. Then I got into Warcraft 3 when that came out back in 01, I believe, or 02. And I started writing for Cash.net, Warcraft 3 coverage. And by doing that, I was noticed by the editorial team at SK Gaming. That was in 04. So I went to SK in 04, spent a couple years there. I also had a stint at the National Gaming Association, which was it didn't last that long, but it was an actual office job, and they were trying to do some esports coverage combined with kind of what GameSpot does. So that mix kind of didn't work out. It was way too ahead of its time. So that company lasted about a year, but it was a good editorial experience for me. And after SK Gaming, I stayed there until about early 07, and that's the year when Gottfrag got purchased by MLG. So
dun.
Yeah. So once that happened, there was officially a hole in independent esports media coverage. So I left SK. I loved my time there, by the way. It was a great experience for me. I learned a lot, met lots of people. So I left SK and I started working on ESFI, just the basic concept of ESFI, which was creating an independently owned unbiased, impartial esports media site with all the features that a site like ESPN, for example, would have. So I did that, started development, had problems like most people starting the company who are working with a website developer probably will experience at least once in their lifetime. So we had some major development delays with that, and eventually we got it done. So we launched back in December 3rd, 2010. So we're only about a year and a couple months old. But during that year, we've grown so much. I have to straight away give props to our staff. It's all volunteers. We have, I think it's over 50 staff by now. We're covering StarCraft 2, Dota 2, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, and we just launched our League of Legends section yesterday. So, things are looking great for us. We've been growing consistently. A lot of that we did with our StarCraft 2 division. And we did that by going to events, doing coverage, sending teams, spending some money and doing that. We did it really well. We did it consistently, and people took notice. So that's where we made a name for ourselves. We established our credibility, and here we are today.
It's a pretty impressive.
That was kind of short, to be honest. I thought Kurt for sure was going to jump in and talk about.
Well, since no one else was asking questions, I guess I will.
You didn't even. Wow.
Here we go.
No one's going to eat that last piece of pizza. I might as well take it. Don't want to get it thrown out. Go ahead, Kurt.
Look at you guys, man. Gosh, just sitting around. No. So what? My question, one of my first questions to you were talking about, how long you guys have been around. And a lot of people that probably surprises because I think you guys have come a long way. That being said, I think we would both agree that the first 6 months was really rocky for you guys. It was trying to, I'm not sure if it was, it was just the content you were producing or was just trying to get viewers to see it or getting the name out there, the word out there. What exactly have you guys done the past 6 months, 9 months, maybe max a year, really to really drive some of the great content you guys have out, and also getting people to see that content? Like, what have you guys done for that?
Yeah, the first 6 months, it was difficult because the whole goal for those first 6 months was to establish our credibility, just because we need to establish that to reach the community and and do it properly. So, in doing that, we were a new company. We had to recruit the proper staff. For such a long time, it was just a very small team, and we were only covering a certain amount of games. So, the content output was, of course, limited compared to what it is today. But it's just growing pains. It's just starting up a new company. Trying to find the right people that are going to make the content work for what we need, and again, establishing the credibility for this first 6 months, and then we started sending people to events and doing coverage, and that I think was kind of the turning point, because all eyeballs we really were on our content during those weekends, and we promoted it really well. People loved it, and people took notice. They started following us on our website, on all of our social media accounts, and that in turn brought more interested people to help us out and volunteer and write for us and do content for us. So, yeah, it was all about credibility for us at the beginning. I wasn't expecting mass traffic or sponsorship dollars coming through our door at all. It was just a matter of getting settled.
All right, well, let me ask you this question. From a looking back over the last year or so, what have you been personally most proud of? What has been you think the ESFI's best work?
In terms of specific content or just in general?
I'd say in specific content.
Definitely our event coverage, by far. Just because, oh man, I really appreciate the people that come to these events with myself and work these 16-hour days to do esports coverage. I mean, that's when you have a dedicated team that they have a passion for esports, and that really makes me happy. So definitely our event coverage, all of our video content that we do, our interviews, we've, made a great name for ourselves with all that stuff. And everything else, our photos, our articles, all the match recaps that we do, the home team helps a lot during those event weekends. So if I had to pinpoint one specific thing, it'd have to be those events that we go to and do coverage at.
Okay. And the other question I was going to ask you is, managing an all-volunteer staff is the story of a lot of people in competitive gaming, and I want you to sort of highlight on some of the things you may have learned for anybody out there who is thinking about doing anything in esports, realizing they're going to have to start out managing a volunteer staff, which is different than being a parent or a teacher or actually being a manager in the workplace, because it takes a certain special skills to engage people's passion and then keep them engaged. How's that experience been for you personally?
Managing a staff of volunteers is actually very enjoyable, just because the people who are on the staff and they stick around. All that they're working for is their love for esports. That's it. They know there's a good chance they're not going to be making money from this. Of course, we're working towards that. We're trying to do things that, I want to get people paid, but the thing that really I just love is that everyone does this because they love it. And if they don't love it, they're not going to last long. So I guess that's my first advice. And I know it's been repeated forever. If you're trying to get into esports journalism, please make sure you love it first. And then, things will happen. You have to be consistent, and you have to do it for a long time. But, you'll get noticed. And if you keep on doing it, if you're proactive and consistent about it. So, yeah.
Let me ask you a question here.
Hold on,
Brent.
Kurt, I got one more thing I want to follow up, because I just brought up something that I don't want to lose sight of. Brent, and Kurt, you may have been even going in this direction, because I know we talked about it just again today, but and I think Jason Lake on the executives has pointed this out. A lot of people have been on the show have pointed about nobody making money and things like that, and that there isn't a lot of money in esports. But the one thing I didn't want to talk about was sort of what is esports journalism? What is the state of esports journalism? And, I guess there are some real deep questions. Who is credible? What is a credible source? And I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on that, Brent, because from an outside perspective, you seem fairly neutral and, seem fairly independent, and all those things are positive and good. What do you feel is the current state of esports journalism? Is there any? Are you it? Are there other things that you think are going on are good? I just love to get your perspective.
Well, a while ago, I didn't even think esports journalism existed. So, just because of just the way the industry worked. But I think we've made a good push towards trying to change that. It's hard because to do actual journalism in any industry, it takes, let's just use an example of writing a specific story. That's not like a news write-up or an interview you did that you just emailed off and you're just waiting for the responses back. Hey, let's try a story that you're actually investigating. You need to talk to multiple sources, all that good stuff. Something like that takes hours, days, weeks. There's a story that we've been working on for months and we're not even done with yet. So that's something that, it's so hard to justify if you're not being paid. And, that's where the whole passion thing comes into play. But, that's number one for me. That's the type of content that we're actually striving to do. And the other aspect of that is, volunteers. You have to be able to take the time to train them, to encourage them to follow this kind of content, to actually want to pursue it. And that takes training, because most of these people that are working here, they're not classically trained in journalism at all. So.
No, I like that's a very realistic approach. I mean, you do have to, one of the great models that comes to my mind is National Public Radio, NPR. One of the few places that is non-for-profit still that covers the news. They're pretty much either funded by special endowments and grants, but the large portion of their funding comes from donations from users. They do donation drives, like 10, 12 times a year, and it's real journalism, which is what you were hinting at. Investigative journalism. I hear a lot of people come and they want to talk about, I'm going to do an interview, or but that's not investigative journalism. That's not, when we said, hey, here's a story about that, when I first read on, for example, when I first read on Team Liquid, that they weren't going to list the MLG arena event on their calendar. And it kind of got summed up as, MLG felt that we shouldn't charge for it, and that was the discussion ended. The truth was a lot different. And, once we pushed that and pushed it and pushed it, because we couldn't triangulate the source, we just had two. I just pushed the figure 10,000 when the actual source was close to 10,000. And then once I saw who responded and what way responded, I knew where the truth sort of lies. So sometimes when you're investigating a story, there are tricks to triangulate what the exact amount is. And then eventually you get there, and then they eventually sort of kind of confessed, okay, yeah, well, we did talk about specific amount of money, but it wasn't $10,000. And I was like, you're right, it was nearly, and I'm not going to go into the exact amount because that might reveal my source. These kind of real tricks and tips are something that most people come into, they've got a passion for esports, they want to channel it to something, but then how do you get them the training and how do you get them the experience to make those kind of investigative, moves and decisions that aren't about ego or their PR, but are about getting to the truth?
Yeah, and just to go back to your story there, then you have to deal with the whole reporting side about that and the things that go along with that. Like if I were to speak with a source who would be giving me information anonymously, anonymous sources is something that this community isn't really used to at all. So, we're slowly trying to change that. And again, I go back to the whole credibility thing. That's our foundation. So, it's something that we're trying to push, and hopefully people will get used to it. And that's just a part of us trying to increase the quality of content in this whole entire industry, so we can actually create a foundation for actual journalism.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they hear anonymous sources, they think that's a way to lie, and they're being lied to most of the news you get comes from anonymous sources. Someone inside the Barack Obama administration said, insider sources at the Pentagon said, someone at the working for Chase Bank said. You're always given anonymous sources, and people don't like to admit that they have leaks. People don't like to admit, they'll run to their staff and be like, did anybody here talk to so-and-so? And everybody, of course, nods. No, I didn't say a word. Right? But in reality, that's not what happens. And this is sort of the reality of the news. You can get a lot closer to the truth if you don't expose your sources. And that doesn't make you not credible. I think it's something people have to get used to. And, I often say this, people only challenge your credibility when you write news they don't like. That's the only time they challenge your credibility. If they agree with what you say, you're spot on. You're a hero. You're telling, quote unquote, the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like an organization like ours, it's all about managing those sources and doing right by them and just doing everything good. And, eventually people are going to start coming to you if they have like a story that they want to speak about that they can't really go to any other organization to get off their chest, So, and that's starting to happen with us. So, I think we're doing things properly.
No, I think you guys are doing the things really well. So
I want to bring something up real quick.
Go ahead, Kurt, please.
I think it fits perfect into what we're talking about here. One of the best interviews I think you guys have done, and you guys have done a lot of amazing interviews, especially video interviews. I've absolutely loved. You did one with Jason Lake, which completely changed the image of Jason Lake to people in the community right now. It's one of those things where people had a different image of Jason Lake.
So, not sure what just happened there, but apparently Wirecast just decided it wanted to error out on us, and we will be back to where we were before. Kurt, pick up with the question you just had, sir.
Okay, I'm going to skip some of the jibber jabber at the beginning, but basically you guys do amazing video interviews. One of the best ones you guys have done before. You did a great one with Jason Lake. Those who haven't seen that, please go check that out. You can find that on the ESFI's website. But the one specifically I want to talk about is the one that you did with Midway. And for people that don't know who Midway is, he was basically one of the founders of GotFrag, which we've mentioned quite a few times on the site, on the podcast. And he said that one of the biggest problems with journalism, quote unquote, back then was that you ran into problems where you were constantly having to be fairly counterproductive, and it was hard to, there was no accountability for the leagues that you tried to cover as an independent journalist. So when you tried to be as independent as possible, you would be blackballed by something like CPL. CPL was really, really bad about it, and I think WCG did it a lot too. And you would be sort of left out. My main question to you is if that's being done still.
Task list coming on.
Jerry, you still mute up, Jerry. My main question to you is that still a problem now? And if so, what are you guys doing to counteract it?
I can say that it's still a problem, absolutely. I can also say that back then when Midway was working on GotFrag, the whole industry was a lot more, I guess, immature about that whole thing. Like I know that GotFrag actually did get completely banned from one of the CPLs, I believe. So I think we're...
Just real quick, so for the audience, was GotFrag banned before or after they were picked up by MLG?
No, this was way before. Yeah.
You're talking about way before. Just so the audience has some perspective.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that happened to GotFrag. I think many years have passed since then, but the problem still exists with not just leagues but other organizations as well. But I think now that it's a lot more, there's much more infrastructure. There's much more community that's built up. Like say if we were to report a negative story about organization X that went out on our website and got promoted everywhere and everyone saw it, I'd like to think that we're past the point where we'd get banned from that organization, if like they banned us from going to one of their events. But say it did happen. I think the way that esports is today, where how active everyone is in the community, not just the fans and the spectators and everyone else, but also other organizations. So to say it did happen, I think there would be an outcry from the community in general that, this is wrong. Why is this organization banning media sites from attending events? So I'd like to think that would happen, as well as support from the other independent organizations, like the ones over in Europe, like Fraxer and Readmore and all those guys. I'd like to think that we could all come together to kind of, I don't want to say boycott, but
no, I mean, I think you've got a really good point. I think that let's assume that you are doing the job that you have been doing and you are credible and you are continuing to do good work. And then you write a negative article about a league or their experience, and all of a sudden you find that you're banned from the event. I think a lot of people at that moment would sort of step out and make it real clear that, no, this isn't right, this isn't fair. And again, I would have no hesitation calling those people to the table and being one to say, wait a minute, and let's just use ESFI as a hypothetical, because I agree with you, I really doubt it would happen. But there is, I always argue there is a best response. There is one of the better responses, and this would be everybody to put pressure on that, to say, you know what, you may not have liked what they wrote, but banning them from event is not the way to go. This is how I felt about this is what we sort of laughed at, and I didn't care. I mean, I could have made a bigger deal of it than I did, but when I got temporarily banned on Team Liquid, because I'm sure for Hotbit and them was very uncomfortable, to sort of be called out. And, you know, as much as they wanted to deny the 10K figure, it certainly was what MLG Adam made very clear, saying it was no small amount, right? So it's those situations where and we're dealing with a lot of young people, even at the tournament level in a lot of places, they make these defensive reactions. And should somebody do that, I think a lot of people would stand up. I think I agree with you. I think a lot of people would stand up and say, you know what, this just isn't right.
Yeah, and it's not just with leagues either. It's with team organizations as well. I mean, you know, if we reported something bad about a team, you know, at the next event, we go ask for an interview for those players. You know, we get blackballed maybe. So there is that as well.
So, and another thing is you don't necessarily have to be. I think being banned from an event is a little bit overzealous. I agree with you. I don't think many people would ban you from an event. Pretty much no matter what you do, as long as I guess it's called for. But you don't have to be banned from an event in order to be blackballed, in order to be really put under the 8 ball there. I mean, like you said, teams can choose not to comment on certain things. They can choose not to provide you with the things necessary to perform your job. I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, you know, we mentioned Team Liquid. Team Liquid's kind of treated like the golden child right now in StarCraft. They are catered to quite often, and that's certainly understandable. They're the biggest, I guess, community site right now, and I think that's undisputed. But you know, I know you hear for a fact things like IPL and how they, you know, had whole rooms for Team Liquid when they put independent organizations in this little bitty bar or room. You know, you hear these stories, and they're definitely concerning, and I feel like there's a problem there. Like what do you feel like? I mean, and once again, what are you guys doing to try to counteract that? Because in the end, you know, we could talk all the shit we want, and it might not necessarily ever change anything.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. I think in that case, it's just a matter of, you know, we've been around a year and a couple months, and we've grown this much, whereas, you know, organizations like IPL and MLG almost rely on Team Liquid to for promotion of their StarCraft 2 tournaments. So they need them, I think, as much as as the other way around. So Team Liquid is so huge now. I just think that it's a matter of ESFI being, you know, a smaller organization right now. Even though we still have, even though we're still going to be at all the events, there's just nothing that we can do right now with our current, you know, with our budget and just our experience with the industry. We're still so new compared to an organization like TL, whereas those organizations almost rely on a site like TL. So I just think it comes with the territory right now. I think it'll mature as time goes on and as we prove ourselves more and as the whole industry matures itself. But I think it's just growing pains for now.
I gotcha. And then let me ask one last question in relation to that, Jerry. And I don't want to hardball you here by any means, so if you can't comment, I understand. But the thing is, I am curious your opinion on this. As an independent community site, which is what I call ESFI. I mean, you guys report news that, you know, and all that, but I call you guys a community site because you do things for the community. I mean, you guys post things that are not just in relation to simply the top news. You know, simply things that people hear from every fucking news site out there. You post some interesting stuff that doesn't get anywhere else. Anyway, so my point was, I'm curious as to your opinion on people like Team Liquid, and I'm not just singling out Team Liquid, but on decisions like Team Liquid. For instance, the decision of Team Liquid not supporting MLG and putting it on the calendar for the Winter Arena. Stuff like defeaturing teams and I guess what they would consider not as popular players, stuff like that. As a community website, which is technically what Team Liquid's supposed to be, what do you guys think about that as publicly as possible? I mean, what would you guys see? Would you see yourself doing anything like that?
I think that goes back to just the current state that we're in as inside this industry compared to something like TL. I think what TL did was the right thing to do. If I was in the guys at TL's shoes right now, I would have done the same thing. And the next week they were one of the media organizations at MLG Winter Arena, like everything was fine. So TL has so much pull right now that I think any decision that they make will not only be the best one to make, but hopefully, I don't think that any organization can really. I don't think they have much weight to go on in opposing that. So.
Do you agree with that though? Is my point. Like, do you?
Can I throw something out there? I want to throw this out there. I think. See, I completely disagree with this idea that Team Liquid is powerful. I've never found Team Liquid to be powerful. I see that whenever you're talking about sports, the truth of the matter is that the players are powerful. We can say what we want, but at the end of the day, if Company X came into this space and I'm talking about legitimate Company X, MTV, an affiliate of ESPN, something like that, partnered with Major League Gaming, started a StarCraft site. It was picked up by HBO, other things. We really are going mainstream now. We're seeing it in other places. This equation would change because the power is in the players. And I think that right now we have a lot of people who go to Team Liquid. It's sort of a space. It's an environment no different from VV gaming or other things. But those environments are fragile. And, Got Fragged is a perfect example of how fragile an environment can be. And when certain things change overnight, it can go away. So I've always seen the power really being with StarCraft players. And if the industry matures more, StarCraft players are not going to be worried about what Team Liquid thinks about them. Them and their agents are going to be worried about the next sponsorship deal, the next legitimate mainstream television interview, things like that. It's not going to be boiled down in that, I don't know, somebody said something about something in a forum. I think a lot of that will change. So there are things that Team Liquid could become. My honest opinion is that Team Liquid is kind of sitting on a gold mine, but the three of them don't really strike me as having the experience. And this MLG decision kind of highlighted that. They don't yet have the experience to really nail that home. That's my cut on this, to be honest, from a professional business perspective.
That being said, though, Jerry, I agree with you to a point. I think people can fall down from their hill at any day. That being said, I do agree with Brent completely that right now I think Team Liquid is too big, that it is big enough to where anything they do isn't going to change anything. I mean, you look at the fact, yes, they turned down MLG for its calendar, but also they are one of the only two websites that were actually 100% approved to get interviews and coverage at MLG that very same weekend. MLG immediately said, look, we need you more than you need us, and that's essentially what they told them by making that decision. And that might, like you said, that might not necessarily always be true, but that's what is true now. And it's the same way with us. I mean, it's the same way with everything. If an event I host at, for Check Six, for a sponsor, for whatever, if it doesn't get on Team Liquid, it's incredibly hard to support. It's incredibly hard to get people behind it. So my only question to you, Brent, and then I'll change the subject. I'm sorry I've ranted on it for so long, but do you necessarily agree with an organization being that big as an organization that could potentially be that big one day? Do you agree with the fact that nothing can be done, to sort of knock them down a peg?
Well, I'm not sure how they could be knocked down. If I agree, I mean, that's what they've been building it for so many years. There's nothing for me to disagree upon there. Just going back to Jerry's point, I'm not sure what the players have to do. If the players were to go like elsewhere with mainstream sponsors or whatever else, I'm not sure that would affect TL in the slightest, just because TL is a community that is built of fans that support the game. They're going to be supporting the players no matter where they go, just because they love the game, right? So I don't think that would change anything at all. I think the only thing that would change things possibly is just more organizations stepping up and providing some kind of content that maybe TL isn't doing, or maybe what they are doing, but doing it better or different.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said I don't see the power, to what Kurt said, I don't see it being, power is not the word I would apply to Team Liquid. Right, I do agree with what you said, Brent. They've worked on it. Like I said, there's an enormous amount of work that has gone on at Team Liquid. That is without question. But power, to me, that's the wrong word. They're not powerful. Team Liquid has, to me, no impact on, what. Okay, so they decided that they weren't going to put the ST2 Arena on the calendar. Sure, right? I mean, that's not going to drive things, right? That's not to me the key. Where Team Liquid could make a benefit, Kurt, to what you were talking about, is Team Liquid could, instead of just focusing on the big things that everybody knows about, they could provide opportunity for up-and-coming players and up-and-coming organizations. And their decision to remove all those streams went in the exact opposite direction. So, again, the business decisions at Team Liquid, to me, are kind of, they're light, right? I mean, you're looking at three people who essentially are fairly young. One may have just graduated from law school, according to his Facebook. The other one, 4 years in the Canadian military, then out, and then, another one basically a history of team managing. There's no business experience there. There's no polish or shine there, right? That's just a fact. I'm not attacking them. This is truth. There's nothing in their resume that says I've run a successful company, I've done these things. There's none of that real world stuff there, right? And these decisions that they make, like, defeaturing all these streams, not wanting to put up the thing on the calendar. To me, there's a step that, again, not putting it on the calendar, that to me is a sort of like, it makes me chuckle, right? It's when those are the kind of decisions you make when you're young, right? When there's some kind of ego, some kind of whether their intent was pure as snow, and they wanted to send a strong message that you're charging too much, which most people agree to is not the case. Or it's more like, we want to cash in on it now, you're going to have to pay us more, to which MLG chuckled at them. And I think for good reason. That's the kind of stuff that just says to me, you're not there yet. And again, this is something hopefully they reflect on and they do better with. But power is not the word I would use to describe them. That's my cut, at least.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I would probably describe it as power, but that's neither here nor there. Let's suppose we should move on. Jason, we haven't allowed you to ask any questions, or Dakota. Jason, you have any questions, buddy?
I've been sitting here making sure the stream doesn't go crazy. I've been fiddling around with Wirecast, seeing if there's anything I've done wrong, Googling questions, and man, production side of things, I'm telling you. But no, so far everything has been really cool. I want to see if there's any questions from the community is what I want to do. If anybody has any questions for Brent in the stream, or would like to hear us ask him anything in particular, please shoot it out in the stream so we can get some community questions in there, or you can also shoot it over to us on Twitter. All of our Twitter handles are right here in the stream right now, so you can actually see them on our nameplates. Oh gosh, here we go. First community question. Brent, why are you so handsome?
Oh, well, I'll have to thank my parents for that.
No. But please continue on with the interview, guys. I don't want to cut in.
I'll jump in. One of my things that I want to jump to, Brent, is you talked about sort of opening League of Legends, and we'll talk a little bit about the MOBA scene. You started, as you said, a lot in StarCraft, and now looking at the MOBA scene. How do you decide? You've got very little resources. You've got to manage them. You did Dota 2 first, now League of Legends. How do you decide where to put resources? What drives some of your business decisions behind resources?
Well, I guess the big thing there is exactly what you said, resources. It's a matter of finding the proper people that we believe are going to be capable of managing these sections, because I can't do it all myself. So it's just a matter of finding people. With this new League of Legends section, it's also a matter, of course, seeing the game in its current state. You know, how's it doing in the whole scheme of things in esports? And obviously with this game, I mean, it's just booming like crazy. I mean, it's going into Korea now. It's going into OGN. It's huge here in the States. It's huge in Europe. It's huge everywhere. So, you know, we can talk all we want about the viewership numbers, you know, being greater than StarCraft 2 and all that good stuff too. But combining those things together, that's kind of where we make our decision. But the foundation of that is of course the people. And in a community like that, where it's pretty new, very new actually, it's more difficult, I guess, just because it's more underdeveloped compared to a scene like StarCraft 2, in regards to, you know, people who are experienced with esports journalism, I guess you can say, just esports production, esports content, working in previous esports sites, just because lots of these people are just new to this entire industry. So there is that challenge, but again, that we put that on our shoulders in regards to trying to train these people, trying to make them better at what they do, and you know, that's kind of where we're at with that.
So let me ask you. You mentioned resources, and let me ask you just really quickly. It's something that has been brought up once or twice, and I want to ask just briefly about it. ESFI is one of the, I'm not going to say one of the only, because it's happened, you know, plenty of times in the past, but it's one of the only current ones, I suppose, that has had or does have, or I'm not sure the relationship currently, some type of sponsor, or partial sponsor, I say, and that's creative, a partner with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
How, as far as those resources go, how do you, what I'm looking to ask basically is, what people have brought up things like bias and things like that, and I don't see it me personally, but how do you try to sort of take that bias completely out of the realm of even the possibility when things like creative come up and stuff like that, or any kind of other partner, whether it be with an organization, whether it be with a particular person? How do you separate the bias from all that? Because I know personally it's not easy. You know, I mean, I'm one of those people. I do, you know, this podcast, and I do interviews and stuff like that, and it's hard to be unbiased to Check Six sometimes, you know, just because it's my baby. You know, and you have your figurative baby as well. So that's what I'm wondering. What how do you keep that bias really out of the content that you produce?
Well, it's all a matter of how you position each sponsor and your relationship with them. So trying to think of an example, you know, like with the whole creative thing, the whole ordeal with our banner ads, and we just happen to have the Sound Blaster with, you know, players from Complexity's team on the banner themselves. You know, that was fun for us, but to say the least. But you know, it's just a matter of positioning. You just have to make sure that the sponsorship relationship is just that. It's just a sponsorship relationship, and there's no attachments to it. It's, you know, it's just it's a two-way street between both organizations, but you just have to make sure that it stays at that and doesn't go, you know, one way or the other way or this way and that way. So I guess that's kind of the best way I can explain that. But yeah, it's tough.
I think Jason has a stream question. So
I was just going to say, let me cut on in here, because we actually did just get a really awesome question over on the stream from Stuntin' on Esports, which actually is a really cool name. He wrote in, with ESFI seemingly being up and coming and doing an awesome job, by the way, what do you feel is the next big step for ESFI World?
Good question, Stuntin'. It's a really good one. So I guess the next step for us, we're actually working on a version 2 of our website, just because we've kind of outgrown our current one. Literally, actually, because the system that our current site is built on doesn't scale very well. So that's why our site crashes a lot during a traffic load. which we're addressing. We're doing lots of things to fix that, but that's definitely one of the things that we're working on. A new website this year, probably in the summer sometime, like summer. But there's that, and just continuing to do what we're doing. Try and increase our presence in the action RTS scene, for sure. Try and get more people, a larger presence in Europe. That's another thing that we are pushing for. And just continuing with the events, traveling to events, working with sponsors to help us get there, and yeah.
Just a little bit of almost a follow-up to you saying that there's going to be a new ESFI 2.0. Aside from just being built to handle more traffic, any new features we can look forward to?
Oh, God, yes. We're doing lots of things to make everything easier and more usable for everybody. So I guess one thing I can discuss is a player and team database that's a lot more robust. I guess kind of similar to what you see currently on if you visit like player profiles on ESPN, something similar to that. We're going to keep our whole concept of content aggregation so as to make it very easy for people to find specific content topics for whether it be a player, a team, an event, whatever it is. So there's going to be lots of new stuff. It's going to be a lot better than it is right now.
Neat. Definitely looking forward to that.
About new stuff, I want to quickly cover just a second about some of the different, I guess, genres of games that you guys cover. Once again, I have to get my one nightly Counter-Strike question in. Do you guys ever feel pressured by either community or yourselves or anything like that to just completely drop sections because of either the content not getting the views you would like or the reach you would like or anything like that? Or do you kind of take Goffrag's approach and, if we can support it, we're going to do it kind of thing? I mean, I remember Goffrag supported every game under the sun for quite a long time during its, I guess, its quote-unquote prime. So what's your stance on it? I mean, are you guys going to drop Counter-Strike anytime soon, or are you guys still loving it?
Well, I guess that depends on what happens with CSGO, right? Obviously, we're crossing our fingers. Good point. Yeah, we're crossing our fingers for CSGO right now, and we're trying to get back into that whole scene. But, I think a better example would be the Call of Duty section. So we're actually covering Call of Duty, and we've been since last year. We have a great team doing that, and then they host our roll call show every week still. And after MLG dropped it,
me and Jerry were actually on that show.
Yep.
Yeah. So after MLG dropped it, we started talking. What should we do? But we're gonna keep it for now, just because the team is really passionate about Call of Duty, and we think that it has a very good chance of being picked up again in the future seasons this year at MLG. So we're not rolling that out in the least. But from the community side, we've never, I don't think we've ever had somebody ask us, okay, the section is not, what are you guys doing with the section? It's not active. It's not worth it anymore for you guys. We have had lots of people ask us to launch sections. Like we had lots of people emailing us to launch a League of Legends section for the past several months. So in that aspect, that helps a lot to kind of give us guidance on what we should be covering. So,
and I think the good thing about League of Legends too, is the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, you would be, and I could be completely wrong with this. I don't cover enough League of Legends to know, but what I do know is the most popular League of Legends sites are often team sites, which are something that's not true in the social norm, I guess. Team solomid.net and the Counterlogic gaming site and stuff like that. So a completely independent news site is kind of lacking in LOL. I mean, is that sort of the basis behind your guys' decision?
Yes, that definitely weighed a lot into it. Just there's definitely a big hole there for a site like ours. Like I think we're the only site with an actual player and team database for the League of Legends competitors. So definitely a big hole there to be filled.
Yeah, I would say so. All right, Jerry, back to you, buddy. Got anything?
Thanks. Yeah, no, I know we got to wrap it up. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Brent, what do you see as your great challenge upcoming? What keeps you up at night? What's the toughest thing that you have to deal with?
Well, it's a good question, man. I mean, I'm putting 16 hours a day into this thing for $0 an hour. So, I never question my passion about it. I think it's just a matter of continuing to build what we've built for the past year. I don't think anything in particular really irks me as to, I don't know. I guess it's just my mindset is just to always become better and keep growing so that we can compete with, the sites that have been around for years and years. Just getting to that level, just doing what we do, and getting that new website done. That'll help a lot.
Yeah, that'll definitely help. Here's a little bit of almost like a follow-up to what Jerry just said. If you could give any tips to people that are in, say, our position doing this show, or people that are doing any sort of independent media, anything that you have learned that you felt was completely invaluable from your past year and a half of experience here and your time before that in the world of esports, what tips would you give?
Never give up. 3 words, man. I learned that in the process of trying to launch this site. Like I said, I started it back in 2007. If I were to tell you the story of what happened those 3 years, you wouldn't believe me, but there were so many setbacks. It was just insane. We had lawsuits and all this crazy stuff going on. And at one point, we had to scratch an entire build of a site that we were going to launch. So many setbacks, so many different times. I kept going, and here we are today. I just never thought about giving up. So it's going to hold the same for everyone in esports industry working here right now. To get this thing to the next level, just keep going, be consistent about it, and never give up.
Sounds a lot like building a team, eh, Jerry?
I was somebody today had asked me, why do you do this? And I said, well, it just becomes a part of you. VVV and esports is a part of my life, and it's something that I started coming at it one way, and now sort of have morphed into something different. And I think your advice really echoes back to something I heard listening to the Starbucks founder talk, and he was talking about how they had to do the impossible. They had to stop selling coffee, and they had to start selling an experience. And could they get everybody to buy into you're spending all this money for coffee? And it's a really pretty phenomenal story if you think about the fact that Starbucks, in a way, revolutionized, the way people drank coffee. I mean, what are they now? They're like a $10 billion company, right? And you think about that, and they've had their ups and downs, and they've done different things. But you go way back to when the company started, and you've got these 3 guys who sat around and was like, we want to do something really important. It wasn't really until the 80s that Starbucks really started to take off. And I remember in 92 it went public. And, by then it had already had like 165 stores. You think about this and you realize, it is about the person in charge having that kind of passion and that kind of support for it. And it sounds to me, Brent, when you've been through all the things you've been through, it's very easy to say that, I'm confident that you're not going to give up. I'm confident that so much of what you have done has been in this that, if you stop, it's because esports stops. That's what I see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's really good advice if to anybody wanting to do anything in this space. You can't give up because, I think everybody says it, but if you're doing this for the money, you're in the wrong place. I know, Kurt, you wanted to talk about this tonight, and Brent, this is something that I think is very interesting. So somebody said to me this weekend after listening to the MIT Sloan discussion, Alex Garfield said, my shirts went up 1,000%. And the person who heard it was like, oh my God, EG makes so much money on their t-shirt sales. And I started chuckling. And he's like, what's so funny? I said, well, what's 1,000% of 10? Like, sit down and calculate that, right? We don't know what the original starting number was when he was making that decision to talk about 1,000%, right? And I was telling him, I said, you want to be really careful because everyone's telling you don't do this for the money, and people who are passionate about this, who probably get, a lot of pressure at home, they're going to want to listen to the things they're going to want to hear, right? And I'm always telling people, look, stop, right? Just stop and think about it, right? You want to be the person who comes into this and does it because you've arranged your life so that you can live doing all the other things you need to do and esports. It can't be just esports. You either need family support, you need job support, you need something to allow you to do the things you're going to do. And I think some people come into it a little bit disillusioned, believing that they're going to make money.
Yeah, you definitely have to work esports into your life and not. I mean, I've known people that have made big sacrifices for esports, and it usually didn't end up well for them. But you have to just find a way to fit it in and make it work.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to be really shitty for a minute. Hopefully I can piss. I don't know if I pissed anybody off tonight. But
I'm sure you have. You often do without even noticing it sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I really try. It's hard. I never liked the term sacrifice for esports. I think there's something about, I did all this for esports, or I was there since the beginning, as if there's some right to passage to all this. I mean, look, if you look at, and this is what I call perspective, right? I'm pretty sure everybody knows that our highway infrastructure, right, the Eisenhower highway system that we have, that everybody drives on, right, pretty big deal. We have this amazing highway system in America, right? We don't spend a whole lot of time hearing people talk about how they built that system and how important it is to having it. Matter of fact, I would challenge you to find somebody who said that. But in esports, I always have people come tell me how hard they work for this or how they do this. And I keep thinking, man, stop. You have to do this because you want to. Don't come, when the chips are down, don't complain about how hard this is, right? You have done this, you are doing this to yourself. Do it because you love it. If you are here to make friends, if you are here to make to make money, to even make a living wage, right, to live on like a decent person, as if you got a job, you are probably in the wrong place. Just to be honest, that is not what 95% of people in esports, and I'm being kind here, right, are not making that living wage. They are few and far between.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, even look at Slasher even. Like, he's trying to get paid, right? He's trying to do this gig for GameSpot, and he still has to try and prove that esports is worth it. Like the MLG Winter Arena covers that he did for GameSpot was just a test run. So, I mean, I hope that they do pick it up, and that he can work on that. But Slasher's been around forever, right? And he's been the most experienced guys in this industry, and even he's trying to make it work for him. So,
well, that to me is one of the best points to make. Is not just Slasher, but you look at some of the people on your staff. Ted Oddie has been around forever. I respect him. I've known him forever from the Call of Duty 2 community. Sam Lingle, even more. That guy's been every fucking where. I mean, you have some really, really amazing staff that have been around forever and are still trying to get paid for what they do, and still trying to make a living. But some of them just love to do it. I mean, of course they would love to get paid for it, but who wouldn't? But that being said, they're not going to quit just because they're not.
Yeah.
So. lot of respect for all those guys. Ann is another one. Hubwub, she's great, and Ted and Sam and Justin and all those guys are really. You guys have some really great staff behind you.
I was just going to ask Brent as we wrap this up to give shout outs, and Kurt, you're giving them for him. Brent, we're going to wrap this part of this segment up. I want to give you a chance to give any shout outs. I know you're going to be on Jason Lake and team's show this week, the executive. Yeah. Sorry,
we kind of fucked that up. I apologize. We all apologize for. Hopefully, we didn't step on Jason's toes too much over at the executive show. Hopefully, you guys will have some amazing questions. But I suggest everybody go watch that tomorrow. I think that's 1 p.m. Eastern. I think is the time for that show.
Yep, 1 p.m.
And that'll
Eastern.
be twitch.tv/complexity. I think so.
And even if the time's not good, I mean, they post on YouTube. So I mean, I caught it on YouTube. I don't think a vast majority of our audience downloads this show and listens to it. I mean, the modern world is far too busy. I can't think of any show I watch when it runs. I'm always catching things when I can. So the executives is a good idea. I'll be really interested to see how it morphs. And, that's going to be interesting. There's plenty of business stuff to cover, I'm sure, that you guys will be able to talk about. I don't think we stole any thunder in that regards. But Brent, do you have any final shout-outs, anything you want to tell the world about, or anything you want to get out there that you want people to take a look at, anything you want to upcoming that we should watch out for?
Well, definitely check out our IEM coverage this week. It's going to be second day starting here in a few hours. So check that out on our website. I also really need a lot more Twitter followers, so please follow me, please. Brent Ruiz. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, follow me.
What is you're not kidding.
We'll put it in the stream chat too.
Awesome. No, but yeah, seriously, I just want to take the time to say thanks to all my staff. Just because I look at where we are right now, and I honestly can't believe it. The amount of content we're putting out these days is just unreal for me. I'm really proud of everyone that's been helping me. So I also like to give a shout out to everyone that I've met, in this industry for the past however many years it's been. Looking forward to meet everyone at events again and hang out and all that fun stuff. And follow ESFI on Twitter at ESFI. And thanks to you guys for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Will you be at MLG Columbus?
Yep.
We will see you there. I look forward to it, and look forward to the great coverage you guys are going to provide. So thank you again for coming on, as Jason said, a last minute. And it is always a pleasure. Please, big shout out to your team. They do amazing stuff. If anybody wants esports coverage that's fresh, that has not been done somewhere else before, is not the same regurgitated content, I would have to recommend ESFI.com. Go there. It's good stuff. All right, Brent, you take care and have a good evening.
Thanks.
All right. That was really cool. I'm glad he was able to come on last minute. Really unexpected. Just kind of fell into place, and great interview. Really good interview. Let's see if we can bring Rapture back in here. There we go. Rapture, you were kind of sitting on the sidelines for that. What did you think of the interview with Mr. Brent?
Yeah, I sat on the sidelines, but I think it was really cool to see it from his perspective. I think a lot of people in, esports don't really see these kinds of perspectives a lot. I mean, obviously a lot of the community is all gamers. So, when stuff happens and things come up and these kinds of, outlets are doing really well, we really don't see it from the perspective of the outlet itself. So I think that's a really cool thing to have, the actual person who runs it talk about what he's doing and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really cool, and at the very least it wasn't it didn't turn into a rant from Jerry, but I'm not sure if that's a bad or a good thing. So I don't know.
Oh, come on. Didn't you hear last week? Jerry said he wasn't going to be ranting anymore on the show. I think he
said that before, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing, right? This is sort of I've got printer noise in the background, forgive me, but this is sort of my thing, right? I think it was actually after I got temporary banned on Team Liquid that I sort of had the, so a lot of times I'll dumb things down. I'll play the role of LordJerith, the rants and the sort of things that are character. But I also thought, maybe it's time that I don't play that anymore, right? Maybe it is time that I sort of come in and say, okay, I'm not going to do the shtick anymore. I'm going to talk, quite seriously about business and esports and the kind of things that I think will help grow it. And I'll do it in such a way that my audience isn't necessarily going to be our core community, but they're going to be the leadership in esports. I think back when I made the comment about cats, and then, DJ Wheat jumped on that, don't you have anything better to do than talk about people? I also thought there too, I was like, one, yeah, I have a lot better things to do. You don't want to get into that conversation with me about who's got better things to do. But I definitely didn't feel, like I was much in the mood to play anymore. It was affecting my passion toward esports. So at this point I was like, okay, we're just going to turn it on, So I think at the end of the day, I will rant if something really catches my interest. If I think rant is the appropriate vehicle, but instead I think I'm just going to be a lot more serious about what we need to do. I mean, for those of you who are in staff, or Jason knows this, we're going to be doing some pretty innovative things this year that we never have been done before. Basically bringing in all the best practices from an executive coaching standard. And we're going to go ahead and teach our staff time management and resume building and all this other stuff. We're going to be doing, sort of get them in a pipeline for internships and really make sure that their experience in esports is translating to actual job experience that they can then market out in the greater world to help them get jobs. So I want to do a lot of things to sort of bring that professionalism into gaming. And, we launched it last night, part of our 5-year anniversary, and I really thought nobody was going to take it seriously. I've been putting it off because I was like, no one's going to want to sit down and write goals. And I was wrong. I mean, the response has been absolutely the opposite. People have been, our staff has been eager. And I was actually a little surprised at how quickly they took to goal setting and setting up a schedule and thinking, using some critical thinking skills. So, I mean, we're going to keep doing that. We're going to launch more staff positions coming up. And, I'm going to take the development of our staff very seriously. Mostly because, again, as much as I enjoy what I have done over the last 5 years, I mean this, I spent 5 years having a lot of fun. And I think we arrived at a place as VV Gaming where we've come at it with a whole different model. We've still been very viable. We probably have the best community in competitive gaming without question. That isn't title specific. We cover it all. And I think we do a great job. And with that being said, the next 5 years, I want to really focus on having a pipeline of developing talent. Talent that's going to help build infrastructure, talent that's going to come in and really think about the way that they are building their own skills and then using those skills to the outside world. And again, at one level, I guess to be really honest, at one level, I will still call out Cats if I think the bling he wears is distracting or if he's slouching. I'll still rant if I think that something that was said was stupid. I'll still do those things. But on the flip side, I also want to do something that, I don't think anybody else in esports has the background or the experience to do, so that our people, when they come into VV Gaming and they work their way onto staff, they have real concrete benefit they're going to get from being on staff. The resume, the sort of analysis of their skills, a lot of good time management, which especially today, when I asked my staff what was the thing they most needed help with, almost everybody came back and said they would love really formal time management training. And we started with a Stephen Covey video called Putting Big Things First, which I think is a really great way to explain people how to best manage your time. So we did that. So, I mean, this sort of 5-year anniversary is really not going to be just about BBV or about what we've done. I mean, our Hall of Fame is what, like I say, 14 titles across 4 continents, across, 5 years. I don't want to celebrate our achievements as much as I want to really invest in our staff. So that's kind of our where we're headed moving forward. So I hope that answers the rant question and why I think, that's less important than, me just being entertaining. I can turn on a rant at any time, and, I certainly will if necessary. But I want to lead the effort to really develop the skills needed to get more infrastructure, because we're going to need that if esports is going to grow.
Well, you also mentioned last week that you guys were going to be holding your meetings, basically streaming your weekly meetings, correct?
Yep. We did everything yesterday to get everybody up on their goals and stuff like that. And I wanted it, like I said, I was afraid. I didn't know if everybody was going to care. But I thought it was, I don't know, Jason, what do you think? Dakota, Jason, you were at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
Let me put it like this. I am sad that I have been, recovering from the flu this week, unfortunately, and that I am still so far behind in my work that I haven't had the time to start doing these things yet, the goals and things like that, because I got so pumped up from the meeting last night that we all had. And it's really cool. I think that the way that we're going to approach training our staff is something that I haven't seen really in esports before. So I look forward to the training personally. I've said multiple times in the past, and I'm not afraid to admit, I think of Jerry as one of my mentors. So no, I'm not gonna ever rant the same way he does. I don't think I'll ever have that particular talent, but I do think that the way that we are going to be approaching this for this coming year and beyond is going to be really beneficial to both myself and the rest of our team. So I look forward to, over these next couple days, as that I'm off from work, being able to sit down, work on my time management, while I'm, of course, getting things ready for the big Guitar Hero tournament this weekend. But also...
Speaking... Oh, sorry. I thought you were done, Jason. I was lagging, man. Go ahead.
Man, you would think I just mentioned Counter-Strike or something, the way how happy you got. Listen to you. But I look forward to setting my goals and getting this underway. It's gonna be really good. But Kurt, I don't want to take up too much time, because obviously you had something very important to say. So please,
Look, I even apologize, and you're still making fun of me here. That's
you're too easy. Come on.
Anyway, so speaking of someone who doesn't necessarily have a dog in this fight, I suppose you would say, I absolutely love the idea. I love what you guys are doing. And just as a note to people who might not be caring right now, to me, I would say, if you've got to this industry, or I guess what we would call this industry, or this community, and you honestly feel like you've got to a point where you feel like you have nothing else to learn, then you should probably quit. You should probably go away, because I've been in it for a long time, and I personally haven't. I feel like I'm just now beginning to learn some stuff. So I think the people in these meetings can really learn a lot, and expect me to be trying to sneak into a few myself.
Well, I mean, like I said, that's one of the reasons I want to broadcast them. Rob Zigad ended up recording that on Mumble, and he was going to share it with his sister, who she works for a fairly large investment firm in New York. And so, I think that's really great stuff, because one of the most important things for young people is that they have something to show their family. And I think as soon as if, let's say your parents work, or in a professional arena, and all of a sudden they were, well, wow, this isn't just gaming. They'll immediately be able to identify some of these skills, some of the top training that they've probably encountered in their professional career happening right here in VV Gaming. And by putting that on the stream, I'm hoping that, we sort of continue to fulfill our role in being educational. I've always said that, one of the things that we've always provided, and I think, Sir Scoot says, we wrap our arms around the community, but I really want to educate, right? I really want to sort of get that out there, and then help as many people do what they want to do. And matter of fact, I'll tell everybody this. I have told our staff that if they come to me with a project that they're passionate about that is going to help grow esports, we'll fund it. And that's something that, we want to do, because we're building the kind of partnerships where we can get investment from organizations who are interested in that kind of development. So, hopefully one of the things that we'll be able to do is, in some of these meetings, someone's going to come to us with an idea, And then hopefully we'll be able to crowdsource this to the community, right? You guys could hop on the stream. You could hear, let's say Dakota pitches an idea about something he'd like to do and what it would cost. And you can listen to me ask the tough questions and sort of guide him to getting to the point that we can say, yes, here's $1,000, here's $2,000 to get that off the ground, to do that, right? So that you can actually hear those kind of decisions being made. So you can learn how to write a value proposition. You can learn some basic parts of a business plan, right? So that what you're able to do as a person in esports is get an inside glimpse into those harder things that go on in the real world all the time, right? And somebody said to me a very naive thing, well, Jerry, aren't you afraid you're going to give away your secret sauce? I'll be honest with you. If you want to know what our secret sauce is, it's our people. And I'm pretty sure that staff is happy to be here and they love doing what they're doing in VV Gaming. So if you want to steal our secret sauce, you're going to have to steal our people. I mean, that's all it is. It's about the people.
Yeah, and Jerry, I think I have no qualms with telling people the fact that, you've helped me in the past. From just bouncing off ideas with each other to getting me a little bit more focused with things. So I think people could really benefit from hearing stuff. So I'm looking forward to the to seeing it streamed. It's something that as far as I know, no one's ever done before. I think FXO is the only team that has actually even tried to do it, and then they stopped after a week.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's going to be very much. It's almost going to be run like a kind of a grad school seminar. We're kind of going to sit around, and our staff meetings aren't going to be like, so Jason, tell me what you did this week. It's not going to be boring stuff like that. It's going to kind of be themed. So this first theme of the first show was putting big things first, kind of like the central tenement to good time management. Next week I'll have already gone through everybody's. I was surprised overnight. 7 staff members already have submitted their goal lists, and I've gotten back to 4 of them. And in 2 of them, I said, well, show me your schedule and show me your budget. And again, not to give StarCraft too much due, but Sugar Bear, our StarCraft manager, gave me the kind of schedule that, again, he's 28, he works in the professional world. That business experience bleeds right into his schedule. It's very mature and spot on. It's a usable schedule. What I can do now is, instead of me having to make something up, I can share with our team Greg's schedule, and they can see where Greg gets up in the morning, goes to work, comes back, does his thing, and find where he makes time for VV Gaming and his shopping and his laundry and all the things he has to do in the real world. So I think we're going to be able to kind of crowdsource that and get a lot of good inputs. That's something unique. And like I said, I'm hoping it'll not just help us. Anybody who has trouble with time management, we're going to throw it out there for anybody to take a look at. It's not going to be something that, if staff at other organizations can get this, this helps them build better, by all means, please. Right? As I said, we're not going anywhere. I'm not worried about competition. I'm more worried that we're growing esports. That's the key. So, all right, enough about that.
All right.
I feel like we talked too much about that.
Yep. Before we end the show, I actually want to try something real quick, because we got 3 other things I wanted to mention real quick. So let's do it like this. Something completely new. The guys don't know I'm doing this. I'm just going to try it. We'll see if it works. And if not, you can blame Paradise for failure. All right. Let's go. 3 questions. I'm going to ask each one of you one of them. All right. 30 seconds max. 30 seconds to 45 seconds max. Response on it. All right. Kurt, first one's going to be going towards you, buddy. All right. And this is going to be really hard for you to take 30 to 45 seconds on it. But recently, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, it was announced that they lost crossplay between platform and PC. Good, bad, thoughts, 30 to 45 seconds, go.
Fantastic news for the game. Fantastic news for the PC community. Not so great news for the Xbox community or PS3 community, any of the console community, as I worry the fact that you will probably have something like the TF2 situation where things were getting updated very much once the game's released. That being said, I think it's fantastic for the PC community, and that's all I really give a fuck about right now. I'm joking. No, so I think it's good news. I applaud Valve for doing it. That's it.
Oh, wow. He actually abided by the rules. I am stunned. Dakota, Dakota, next one's for you.
Oh, no, wait. No, I'm joking.
Oh, here we go again.
I'm
Dakota, Dakota, next one's for you. We got 3 fighting game community titles coming up at Columbus. You know, between King of Fighters, Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur. What's the game that's going to sweep people off their feet? What's the game people should be paying attention to in Columbus? And give your reasoning. 30, 45 seconds. Go.
King of Fighters. King of Fighters all the way, specifically because it is probably one of the most interesting games to watch in terms of fighting games. It's similar to Street Fighter, but it's very fast-paced. Execution is extremely high. It's a very colorful game, fun to watch. And the players are just as energetic and just have as much as personality as anyone else. So I would say King of Fighters 13. And I mean, the game's amazing to watch. I think it's going to provide a lot of competition, and it's a fun game to play and to get good at. So I would say King of Fighters 13.
Wow, awesome. Very cool answer. Last question. This one's for Jerry. Recently, Major League Gaming announced news. Walshy is retiring from Halo and will be commentating the game at the Winter Championships in Columbus. Is this good news for the title? And what is this? Does this bode good for the future of Halo? What are your thoughts?
I think I don't know. I have no idea how good he's going to be. The knowledge of the game is there. It could be fantastic. If it's fantastic, it's good for the game. Is it enough to have a big impact on Halo Reach? No. Could it be something phenomenal set up for Halo 4? If Halo 4 is the kind of title that the Halo community can embrace and love, is not another disappointment, that could be laying the groundwork. Walshy's done some great things. He's got a great relationship with Red Bull, doing good work at the ECA. So there's a lot of positive there. He definitely has the credibility. Is it good? I don't know, because I don't know how good he is at casting. I hope it is good, and I hope it's good for Halo.
Oh, wow. I really like the way that flowed. Cool. I think we're going to do that a little bit more often. Guys, I want feedback on that, everybody that's listening. I think that fast blasting questions, getting people's opinions without having time to think about it, throwing the off-the-cuff questions, I think that's kind of fun. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I know Kurt probably hates it.
Well, no, I like it as long as the questions are right. You know me, dude. If a correct question comes in that I just have to rant about, we'll have to say fuck it. But otherwise, I like it. But as before we do sign off, though, I do have one other thing I wanted to cover, and that was the ESEA finals for this weekend.
Right ahead. Yep.
For those that missed those, the VODs are up on the ESEA stream now. They stepped their game up for the ESEA finals. For those that missed it at all, they really, really did. They had a total of 3 streams there. They had an ESEA stream, ESEA main stream, an ESEA blue stream, and an ESEA orange stream. TF2 was there. TF2 came out in droves. I think it was probably the most popular stream there, believe it or not. TF2 beat 1.6, which was really, really amazing. They got quite a lot of viewers, but it was really, really big for what it is, and they did a lot of production value stuff, and they did a lot of behind-the-scenes videos. Really great stuff. Anyway, go check that out. You can go to twitch.tv/ESEA. You can go to ESEAnews.com to take a look at that.
Cool.
And by the way, the three winning teams are Back-to-Back Gaming and Counter-Strike 1.6, Team Dynamic and Counter-Strike Source. Again, that's a total of 6 times that they've won ESEA land, by the way. 6 times. So 6 out of the 10 they've won. And then the Experiment for TF2. All right.
Oh wow! Did you see what happened? The time restraint thing is getting to him. He just said "all right" and shut his mic off. I've never heard him do that. Never.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Look, it's not my fault. We try to give Jason time, and he's like, get a community question.
Hey now. Here, okay, we can switch positions for a week. I can babble about Counter-Strike, and you can produce the stream. Let's see how it goes.
You know what you should babble about? What I think before we forget, really important, plug the Guitar Hero tournament this weekend.
Oh, my gosh.
Score Hero put it on the front page. Guitar Hero's been promoting it. Band Hero's been promoting it. I mean, you've got everybody in the whole rhythm gaming industry doing your social media for you, Mr. Talented Man.
Oh my gosh. I tell you what, I'm excited about this, man. We've got 16 of the best players in the nation all coming together for what could be, and I don't mean to jinx this, but this could be the biggest rhythm gaming tournament that has happened in the United States. I mean, obviously things like WCG have had larger implications, but I don't think we've ever seen a larger pool of talent in one tournament at one time. So I cannot wait to cast this with Brock this weekend. Buzz, huge shout out to him. He has done some amazing graphic work for us. We've got some really cool plans. We are doing a contest. If you have not yet, we are doing a prediction contest. Go put in a prediction. All the instructions are on the vv-gaming.com forums. If you have the best predictions, if you can predict the bracket the most accurately, you will win a 3-month Xbox Live Gold membership courtesy of moi. Throwing that up as just some incentive to get people interested in predicting, getting to people talk about the brackets. We've had like 40 people enter their brackets already, so I mean, there's definitely some discussion going on, which is really cool. So I look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've been putting a lot of work into it. I gotta admit, I'm glad I still have a few days. I have not got all the kinks worked out. Jerry was talking about putting the big rocks first. Right now, this is my big rock. I have been working on this quite frequently, so I'm looking forward to seeing it all pay off this Saturday, and I hope you all will tune in because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up.
Most definitely. Let's start things a little bit differently this week. Shout-outs over to you, Dakota. I caught him off guard.
No, I was a little off guard. I was just sitting there and like, oh, it's my turn to talk again. Sweet, for the third time this today. I want to say shout outs to Rio for taking first place in Mortal Kombat at final round. Ballin', always repping the VVVs in the fighting community, really good stuff. And of course, everyone who did very well in the other games. By the way, final round had a lot of games there. Shout out to the people who ran that because you guys had a ton of games, and it was a pretty legit experience as far as I was concerned. So, but yeah, I mean that's it.
Sweet. Yeah, and I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, didn't CD Junior place top 4 as well?
What was that? You lagged.
I
think you said yes. CD Junior played top 4. I heard him. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to brag, but yes,
yes, you did. Yes, you did. You're right.
We took first and fourth, so we were in there.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, very proud of our Mortal Kombat division. Those guys have been just off the chain. I cannot wait to see them representing in Columbus. Kurt, what about you, sir? Any shout-outs this week before we head off the air?
Not really a few shout-outs. I do want to tell people to look at a few things. Number one, I want to say again, thanks a lot for Brent for coming on. Please, once again, let me remind everyone to check out the executive show that he will be going on next. That'll be the second episode for them, for Jason Lake and Michael Odell from Dignitas or Complexity and Dignitas, respectively. And they will, hopefully they'll cover some interesting topics. I'm pretty excited for it. That'll be twitch.tv/complexity, I think. Either way, you can find it on YouTube, the VOD or anything like that. Also, shout out to Alex Garfield, Sundance, Day 9, all those guys who did the MIT conference this weekend. To be honest, I did pay the $20 for it, the $21. It was only an hour long, but I did get my $21 worth just because of what the 1 hour show was fairly interesting. And even more than that, what was more interesting was actually some of the sports stuff after it, the Fanalytics shows and stuff like that. So anyway, for people that might be interested in stuff like that, please go check out the VODs. They're not up yet, but I think from what the chat said, they'll be up sometime next week. So please go check those out. And once again, just if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at ENEKeyhunt, and Check6 is at Check6 Gaming. That's it.
All right, Jerry, it's over to you, sir.
I just want to give a big shout out to ESFI for coming on the show. I obviously want to give a big shout out to Esoteric, our Fight Club manager. Congratulations to Rio on his victory. Good job to CD Junior for not winning every event and letting Rio win one. I'm sure he didn't let Rio win anything. They practice hard together, so I think that's fantastic. I want to give a big shout out to the community. They've been fantastic. A lot of good stuff the staff is doing, and It's going to be fun celebrating our 5-year anniversary, so I look forward to it. So thanks.
Most definitely. All right. Last but not least, I actually do have a couple shout-outs to give this week as well. Let me switch this on over real quick to this real quick, just so I can blow this up. Shout-outs to the artist who did this fan art and sent this over to me. This is pretty darn cool. The fact that someone would take the time out to draw some VVV Paradise fan art. Huge shout-out to the artist. Rhiannon Van Doors is her name. I am thoroughly impressed with her work. That is just frickin' off the charts incredible in my mind. So big shout out to her. Additionally, I already said this before, but shout out to Jerry for doing the staff thing. I mean, getting us all motivated and teaching us some new skills. I mean, it's not something he has to do. The fact that he's doing it, I appreciate it. So thank you, sir. Thank you to my co-hosts each and every week, putting up with the fact that I'm still learning to do this, getting through these technical difficulties, things of that nature. And thank you to everybody that's tuning in. Once again, as always, you guys are incredible. Let me give just a couple of quick ending spiel notes like we normally would do. Thank you to VVV Gaming sponsors, SteelSeries Gamer Grub, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com. Of course, the band Power Glove for letting us use their music here on the show. We always say thank you to the VVV community. Your feedback and support's what keeps this show alive. Thank you so much. You can find all the episodes of our show from the past on both the website, vv-gaming.com, also on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is The VVV Gaming. Make sure to like our videos over there. If you have feedback for us, our Twitter names have been up through the entire show. You can send any feedback you've got over there to our Twitter accounts. We'd love to hear them. You can also email us. The email address is thelosersbracket@vvv-gaming.com. Next
Jason,
week.
before we end, I have to give this one last shout out, but I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sure. Take your time.
Please, everybody, for those that haven't, go check out John Clark. John Clark is one of the guys that works for CSN. Really dedicated guy. He puts on helps with all the tournaments and stuff like that CSN does every week in Call of Duty and both StarCraft. They don't do it every week for Call of Duty, but you know what I'm saying. He's actually in the hospital. And he just recently posted a picture on his Twitter of him working in the hospital for CSN. He's got CSN pulled up, and he's doing his work from the hospital. So it's really, really amazing to show that kind of dedication. So please, everybody that sees this or watches the VOD after, please go give him a follow and tell him you appreciate him working so hard. And that's it. I'm sorry to interrupt, Jason.
I'm used to it by now, Kurt. You can't throw me off this. All right. On the schedule for next week, we'll be joined by Alex Jabailey. He runs CEO here in Orlando, huge fighting game tournament. I think that's going to be really cool, getting to go over some of the big fighting game news that's going on. Talking about the 3 titles that will be at MLG. Maybe even covering some of the drama that's going on recently. We'll see. I mean, I don't know how much we want to delve into that. Maybe talking about some courses of action that could arise from those situations, overcoming these issues. I think that'd be a good way to approach this. But until then, everybody have a good week, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday night. Have fun gaming. Take care, everyone. See you soon.